Hey there, it's Jordan reporting from the couch of curiosity at Let's Dig Into That, your connection podcast. Ooh, buddy, it's season 3, numero tres, voila, et toi. Love ninjas, that's me and JT, we are back feeling energized, feeling the love and support. This season, okay, I'm tempted to use the P word. We promise to uncover unexpected insights from captivating sources. JT and I plan to push some limits, initiate some boundaries. We are hungry to learn with you. We are ready to make it a little weird. This has been a thrilling journey thus far, and that is thanks to you. We are not experts here to promote our professional opinions. We may sound like we know shit, but the truth is we're just two free-range adults figuring it out as we go along. This is a space where it's safe to change your mind, where kindness prevails, and we all have permission to mess up and move on. We invite you to come as you are, you gorgeous, irreplaceable soul. Thank you for being with us right here where we believe the magic happens not when we're perfect, but when we are brave. Welcome back, beautiful friends. Let's do this. Woo woo! Hello and welcome back to Let's Dig Into That, the connection podcast where we embrace the mess, indulge the subversive, celebrate the struggle, and shake a little bit of shame.
That's right.
This is a call to connect. This is permission to be vulnerable, curious, and human. Thank you for learning with us, being here with us.
Nailed it.
Jiving a little bit with us. Nailed it. I am here today, as always, with my curious wanderer, the hopeful dreamer, my taco teamer. It's Mr. Al Pastor himself. I don't know if teamer.
That's just my belly. That's what we call my belly. Al Pastor.
Al Pastor. It's holy. It's holy and full of pork and pineapple. Yep.
Thank you, baby. And of course, the voice you just heard, she's a firecracker. She explodes with hugs. When it comes to the heart, she's got all the right tugs. It's Jordan, everybody!
Oh, I thought we were going straight up thug, and I was ready for it. I was like, yeah, this is about to get tough. This is about...
No, I kept it sweet.
You did.
And gentle.
Yeah. Once again, we find ourselves at a crossroads.
And once again, I don't know what it is. At the start of each season, we're just full of crap in our heads.
Yeah, we sound cool.
We apologize for our scratchy voices, but...
I don't know if I apologize. I think I might put an album out, like, real quick, and then, and then be done with it.
I like it.
So, gonna take you on a bit of a journey.
All right.
Going back to you being sweet and me being a little bit sour. I got on a bit of a wormhole kick.
Okay.
And I'd like to think it's because I'm a big fan of dynamic architecture. Not well-versed.
Daughter of a builder? Okay.
Daughter of a builder, but it's not like I'm walking around going, oh, neoclassical finish. But spite architecture has really caught my attention, and I went hard.
Tell me what you mean.
I'm sure it makes good sense. Like, we all can kind of like, oh, yeah. There's an inclination for, let's say, a family and the inheritance and two siblings, and one sells the property, their half, while the other's out of town. Things like that. Like, sure, that happens. Oh, there's some shit that has gone down. And I was just flabbergasted.
Spite architecture.
Tell me about this. One of my favorites. And so, because I want to talk about spite, because I realized JT, a little bit sweet. And I'm like, oh, damn. I might be hitting this up on the buffet a little more than I should. Am I in a danger zone? I don't think so, but I'd like to dig into it with you. So this spite architecture teaser, I hope I don't.
Yeah, lay it on me. Like,
there's a
tell me
chance
about some of these
I could
buildings.
go all day. And so, but the Kavanaugh building.
Okay.
Let me set a scene of Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Okay. South America.
1934, this young woman, I believe, new money, quote unquote, and this is all, again, not a full reference, but I have cross-referenced a bit and done a lot of digging.
You went deep on this.
1934, this young woman is in love, and we'll just say the not ever going to happen mother-in-law, she disapproves. Kavanaugh. She's of Irish descent. She has, arrived in
Okay.
Argentina, and she has fallen for this man, and mom destroys.
Mama goes,
She, not on my watch. Ain't gonna happen.
Get this new money outta here.
Get this new money out of here. Like, ugh. And so here we go. A bloodless, spiteful architecture moment. The church, the Basilica of the Holy Sacrament, that this old money, angry
Family.
mama, family, that they attend and all will be buried at and married at and all the good stuff. There's a plot of land right in front. The view
no.
of the beautiful face of this
Oh,
basilica.
no.
And mom puts an offer in and has committed to this property, and then has she goes out of town.
Oh, no.
And that seems to be where most of these problems are. Like, you get nighttime or you're out of town. And so anyway, I'll wrap it up. So mom goes out of town with the family. She doubles the offer.
Young Miss
Kavanaugh.
Young Miss Kavanaugh
Yes, I believe
doubles the
Corinne
offer.
Kavanaugh. She says, I'll give you double the money, and we about to get on our hustle. And this building, which is, you're going to want to Google, you're going to want to track this down. It broke the record for the fastest construction, 14 months. It was the tallest reinforced concrete building in the world for a span of years, the tallest in Argentina for even longer than that. The first in Argentina was central air conditioning. And I now believe it's like apartments and stuff. So
Not only is this here, I never have to leave. It's nice and cool in here.
yeah, just hanging. Who knows if she even stayed in Argentina, like had this built in 14 months, and she's like, I'm out.
And
I have no idea
It
where
just
she is.
dwarfs this church.
You can only see the front of this beautiful, the
Oh my
facade of this
gosh.
church from a 7-foot alleyway. If I'm not mistaken, maybe it's 14 feet, but it's like a skinny little alleyway. There's another spite house that is 7 feet wide, so I got my numbers jumbled.
Wow.
And so you can stand there. The street is named after her. The
After
Corinne
Corinne
Kavanaugh
Kavanaugh?
Street. And so you can get a beautiful view, but it is monstrous. It is
Wow.
wide and tall, and
That is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, but the first thing, since we're talking about spite,
it
that's
turned
where you
me
want to
on
go.
a little bit. I was like, that is awesome.
The first question I have to ask is, do you think that Corinne Kavanaugh, who built this giant building, biggest of its kind at the time, to dwarf this church, how do you think she felt? Do you think that made her feel good?
You're right. Is it worth it? Like, that's probably the ultimate, like, is it a motivator? We see yes, like proof in the pudding. But I think there probably was it didn't outweigh, like, was it a lifetime
Right.
of satisfaction from putting it to this family? Because again, if you're in love with this man, and what if he's a mama's boy or whatever, I don't know, are we allowed to say things like that?
Well, see-
But if that is like, if he has to live with this woman, the love of your life is now with this incensed, angry mom, like, that's kind of shitty.
Well,
And so-
here's what I immediately thought of,
Mm-hmm.
is that spite house doesn't just spite the family. That's a church.
that is the
Like,
whole
think about the
town
repercussions
yeah.
of, like, so that's why I instantly was like, does she feel good about this? Like, probably not. And so spite is a motivator.
like a
I don't think it matters who
rebound, rebound architecture, not a thing.
I don't think it matters who you are. We have all been motivated by spite.
Yeah,
You know
where
what I
does
mean?
that
Like-
come from? Like, all of us, like, could I be next level higher, holier than thou? Like, is there a spiteless human? I'm sure they can recognize it in others, but is there a adorable, beautiful, spiritual monk that's going, of course, spite doesn't
I
motivate
think
me.
we're all susceptible to it, and I think there's some practices. But your question's, where's it come from?
Yeah,
And
like, where does it,
it's a learned behavior, 100%. Like, when we're kids, I think back to it. I think my spite comes from growing up with a sibling. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to wrong me, and we learn quickly when we're kids.
retaliation.
Yeah, we learn quickly when we're kids and our brains aren't fully developed, and so we're very impulsive creatures that if I act on how I feel right now, I can get a level of satisfaction. And it's a natural sort of
Quick
thing,
high.
in my opinion, that happens
Yeah.
because we are kids and we have a lack of impulse control, and we learn that if I act this way, I can get mine on that person that just,
Right.
and I learned that from household disputes with my older sister. Like, truly.
Right, because you're like, I can get my toy back by popping my sister, but if I get my toy back by doing that, I'm also in my household, gonna get
Right.
popped.
Well,
Or insert.
I'll give you
Yeah.
the classic example from a younger sibling. My sister comes over and pops me, knowing that my parents aren't around, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I bite my arm till there's teeth marks and go, "Jane bit me." That's spite, And guess what? She's getting in
Twisted.
trouble, and I'm not.
You were powered by spite. And I think it goes.
As a kid,
I'm
yes,
just
absolutely.
looking, I'm realizing now that I'm like, okay, it might be up in my wheelhouse, perhaps of the two of us more so. But as a child, and I do credit this in a very, I think, cool, your brain is awesome and fires differently, but not being able to understand and having that dyslexia challenge and
Yeah.
hiding it from others, that made it difficult to communicate when it's
Oh,
like, I am
absolutely.
so frustrated. Because again, spite by definition, desire to hurt, annoy, or offend someone else.
Yeah.
And so desire to, where revenge, perhaps, I don't know if that's a direct definition segue, but the destructive behavior being next level. And so, but you as a child, you ate a box of crayons.
That's true.
That's
That is
spiteful?
That is a true story. Yeah, sent to my room without dinner, so I decided to eat 24 crayons.
Dum dum. Why?
Well, I was hungry. All
Okay.
I wanted was some food, so I ate something that I knew would probably block me up and create problems. And they'll be like, "Wow, I'll never send him to bed without dinner again."
Yeah, they'll get theirs.
They'll get theirs, and I'll show them with colorful poop.
With colorful poop. That's my message. So, was that destructive? Bless you.
I'm sorry, pardon me.
Bless you. Was that destructive more so to you or to them? Your vision was, this is going to ruin not only my plumbing of my household.
Well, it never happened again.
So you were affected.
Yeah, I think that my thought
Everybody
process,
lost.
Yep. Which was sort of my goal. I was okay with losing to make sure I annoyed, harmed, or wanted to make sure that you saw that your
Same
actions
kind of
were wrong.
revenge. Yeah.
I think revenge and spite, when you act on spite, the result is revenge. Like, I don't know what else it could be, right?
Well, I see where you're going, because I think that the question being how does spite play a role in our lives? Is there a positive argument? Because I don't know if I could have the same argument for revenge,
Huh.
but maybe, yes, if it's a motivator for your own personal, achievement,
Yeah.
growth. I want to win. You said I couldn't. I love when somebody's like, no one gets an A in my class. And it's like, game.
Bring it on.
on.
Exactly.
Hustler.
I do think that there's a lot of positive to that. I think about relationships. I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of spite that goes into breakups and how you feel about the people that you
Revenge
dated.
body.
Revenge body. That's exactly where I was
Ooh,
going.
is that? Yeah.
Because you're bettering yourself.
It's good. Unless you're starving.
Yeah, well, that's not what I'm saying. But if you're
Please don't do that,
if you're fresh out of a breakup and you decide, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to hit the gym, and I'm going to look great, and your motivation is that person who broke up with you, and you're kind of like, F that dude.
Right.
You're not actively hurting that person.
No.
You're bettering yourself.
Right.
I do think that's a positive.
Revenge bodies sleep with their best friend.
Little
Not
different.
good.
Little different.
Not good. Yeah. Yeah. Sending text, emails, not appropriate. Not appropriate. But yes, the revenge body of, again, I broke boards and did that whole karate. You love when I say
Hi-ya!
that. But yeah, I definitely have my black belt. And there was a lot of there were times when you needed to motivate internally on I got to get a little bit more pissed off than
Right.
my normal
Well, and you did this
level.
as like a young girl. I'm sure that there was a lot of people that were like, oh, look at this little girl.
I think I got my black belt out of spite because it was we had a free trial. And then I was like, well, now I have to win. My competitive, so I don't know, it was spiteful or just competitive nature, but I needed to achieve an end goal.
When you think of a time in your life that you've acted on spite, is that the first thing that pops in your head? Is I did this to spite all these people that didn't believe in me?
You're asking time period in life?
No, I'm just like, is that your one thing? Like when you think about when spite has been a motivator for you.
I feel, yeah, you nailed it with like relationships, one I hadn't really considered, but that's so true. Like I'm pretty sure I have some memories I've blocked. I'll circle back to those. But yeah, like academics, relationships, athletics, like being a competitive, like I am not capable, not wired for bringing the team down, for like throwing the game, for
Yes.
not for being like, screw you guys for not inviting me to the fun movie night or what hypothetical Mean Girl stuff. And I'm going to retaliate by jeopardizing art like that. I can't, my
hear
body
that.
wouldn't let me do that.
I hear that. And I think that the greater good outweighed your own spite. And I think that that's how you can kind of keep it in a positive realm, because I've definitely experienced that. As a kid, I had two friends that had the same birthday. So every year there was a spiteful planning the parties on the same day and trying to get the friends to go to each birthday party. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
So, yeah, your friends?
And so it just hurt the greater good is a dumb
Why?
example, but
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying is like, because you're both having the party on the same day to see who your allegiances
the
are,
crowd.
who drew the car. It's just hurting everybody. We could have two awesome parties here.
Or just one party.
Right.
I think my non-sibling, like I was all about the joining parties. I love when I try to join your party with our godson who is 9. And I'm like, this is going to work out great. They share the same birthday. How freaking cute is that?
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh man, I think I could hit a theme hard. I'll circle. Yeah, we can make that happen. But I love, like I had a friend that was 2 days later than my birthday, and I was like, let's do, and I think that she was always like, cool, that's fun for you, but I loved it. And so yeah, joint party I think could be kind of fun. But yes, relationships, but academics and sports, like as a golfer, like I had visuals of, I want to kick that girl's tuchus.
Yeah.
I want to beat her by this many, like by 3, and I'm not necessarily even playing in her group that day, probably, but like that was enough to be a kick-ass motivator.
And positive, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think
Yeah.
in a competition setting that's a bad thing whatsoever.
Right.
When I think about spite and how it's motivated me, I'm not sure it's positive. Like I think spite does something in me. Usually when I'm feeling spiteful, it's because I'm feeling angry. Someone has done something
That crayon eater lives in you.
yeah, something that I
Yeah.
don't feel as justified. You know,
Oh,
I become
God.
the justice seeker. You know what I mean?
It's so true. Yes, fists of justice.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what and
Oh,
so
God.
I would say it's not always negative because I'm kind of going back to that state where I'm acting impulsively, going back to how our brain chemistry works. I think my amygdala I'm enraged. I'm in fight mode.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking clearly.
Lunatic.
I'm not thinking about the repercussions. And that's when I think
short-sighted.
I would make the argument that I honestly feel that spite as a motivator, unless you are extremely aware of what you're doing, is probably going to lead to more negative results and consequences than positive.
So you're saying we start off emotional and like spite enters our system, and to take conscious, like you have to take charge of your own
Right.
person at some juncture.
I'm sitting here looking at my wall of Jordan sneakers. Thank you. I love my shoes. Michael Jordan, to the day, he played with a chip on his shoulder. Anyone who watched The Last Stand, the big documentary they did, it was his motivator forever. Everyone knows he was cut from his high school basketball team.
That
That
works.
stayed with him forever. He wanted to be the best to prove people wrong. That was a long-term, well thought out way to use spite as a motivator. When you're acting impulsively, man, you could get yourself in trouble. Like, you know, it needs to be well thought out. Like, if this is actually motivating me, you should probably be aware of why and how and what the results could be.
What is the fall? Yeah, back. Because I am thinking like athletics. Wow, like thinking of the number you wear and how that's a very probably more common than I even thought of.
Hundreds
until
of
this
thousands
moment.
of dollars athletes give each other to trade
To
numbers.
keep that chip right there secured on that shoulder.
Uh-huh.
And then I think about how annoying it is when you exhibit road rage. I hate it.
It is spite.
And it
it
is-
absolutely is spite.
It is so spiteful and so, yeah, I wish I had a better vocab word.
Well,
but it
again,
does,
it's the justice. You
Yep.
pissed me off. You did
That's
this wrong.
I was in the
want you to
passenger
feel
seat.
how I feel.
And somehow I am the only sufferer. And somehow I alone in the passenger seat. Holler if you're hearing me. I know these folks are out here that got that driver that they want to wrap up.
This episode of Let's Dig Into That is brought to you by...
You can see it on the field, at the office, in the gym. Some people seem to always have that extra punch. While you're sweating your way to give that 80%, they are showered with praise, pats on the back, always with a glisten-free gleam. What gives? What is the secret to making the extra mile look effortless? It's spite! That's right, now you too can feel the infinite motivation with chip on your shoulder. On trend with retro fashion, our microchip shoulder pads will relentlessly remind you of your skin in the game. Ready to get pissed and polish that chip? Spite will start to feel just right after just one wear. Slip chip on your shoulder pads in place, and you'll feel the burn for excellence. Think you're too passive? Have a childhood filled with supportive encouragement? Don't fret. Chip on your shoulder will use the latest non-medically approved AI technology to scan your past, filter your memories, and determine just the moment in history to give you the edge you need to crush the competition. It doesn't matter if you want to be the best at getting the mail, actively listening to your wife, or if it's time to bring down Tom in product development. Chip on your shoulder guarantees you'll soar. Turn a flash of anger into action with Chip on your shoulder. Now available with solar charging options. Chip on your hip and give me some lip. We'll remind you why. You go get the win.
So justice. Like, I'm seeking this justice. And I got to thinking, like, what I do when I'm feeling that and I know that I'm acting impulsively, that I am...
You're in the spite zone?
I'm in the spite zone. I try to think about karma. And I'm like,
Ah.
you know what? The universe, they'll get theirs. That's how I soothe myself in there. And I never really thought about, wow, karma is this, like, I think of it as a very powerful and very positive thing. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it's rooted in spite. Like, you're wishing ill upon someone else who has harmed you and hoping that it happens throughout the universe.
Once again, we find ourselves just uniquely where I'm like, it's not the justice. I think the connotation where this is restoring balance.
Okay.
The universe will
Ooh, I like
bless
that. I like your
us
perspective.
with, you're welcome. And it's just, I mean, all the time I'm just dosing this out for you. But I realize that I have a karma banner hanging in my sneaker closet.
Yes, you do.
That I should revisit because I've had that, more than a decade, very long time. And it wasn't that I purchased it on that day with like, oh, Debbie's going to get hers, but I wonder that, so I feel like the balance, but are we spiteful in taking that little pill of karma will do its magic?
Well, I think we are, because the way I think karma is actually supposed to work is with yourself. It's supposed to be a tool to help you act consciously, knowing that if you act out, that there will be a return consequence from the universe, a natural consequence. It's supposed to be internalized. But when you put it onto someone else, which I do as a coping tool regularly, I think we're now being spiteful. We're like, oh, the universe.
So
they'll get
spite
theirs. They'll get
presents
theirs.
itself inside you, and you have an opportunity for emotional growth, you think, if you choose to not just blaze double barrels.
Which is so hard to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've called you a porcupine on fire before.
Yeah. People have asked me, wow, I worked in crisis situations for a long time. And people were always like, how do you
You are the crisis situation is what I'm learning. Go ahead.
That's
Sorry.
not fair or true. But they're like, how do you stay so calm? And the reality of it is I'm not calm at all.
I am elsewhere is my take. Like I am floating above the body you're talking to right now. And you're like inside porcupine on fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but
waving flags.
I have a lot of training to make sure when shit hits the fan, I'm presenting like a duck on top of the water.
Right, to duck on, those feet be flapping away. So, okay, can I flip the script a little bit?
Yes.
Like, have you ever been in a situation where someone else motivated by spite had an impact on you?
Oh.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Man, I've definitely been spited.
because I'm like, who's acting spitefully? And then I'm like, ooh, nepotism. And then I don't know where that came
Nepotism?
from. And that's just the one word that like just came to mind. You take that one.
I hate that word because
You don't have to get into nepotism.
Well,
but
I'm gonna because I have been spited due to nepotism.
Oh,
My grandparents, adopted grandparents, started a business. My parents ran it, and I ran it. I was the
so faux nepotism.
technical third generation running this business. And I dealt with 40 to 50 different sales reps who would come in to sell me products. And I could just tell the ones that came in and go, oh, great, I get the baby. He's only here because mom and dad gave him a job and blah, 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 blah. And the reality was, I had been studying wine. I have Cicerone degrees. I didn't have a choice. I was 14 years old. My mom was like, what'd you get in that? Wrong. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. But I have definitely been.
You had the goods to back it up.
I could tell that people.
But you fell under that umbrella.
Made an assumption and were spiteful that I was in the role I was because they felt it was nepotism.
Hi. Female, I rolled into a competitive sales competing in the same market you were.
Yeah.
Pseudo different times-ish, but not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, who is this young female? She doesn't know anything.
Yep.
And which was kind of true, but I was good at figuring it out. Like female, yes, I'll stand by that, and you're welcome because my service level, I rocked at care, and so
Yes.
But that's so interesting.
Customer service is your specialty.
Yeah, but I feel like nepotism, like, oh, I'm going to spite my parents, this is not your situation, not go into the family, whatever, where that to me, I don't know how that would have affected me, but it would be like, I don't know, the only child with no children, that I'd go like, oh my gosh, my legacy, I'm going to take over, they're going to adopt me, and I'll show them I'm the child they never had, even though I like the stock I came from. So interesting.
But
okay.
also working in a family business and being part of the family, I definitely had coworkers who I could tell had spite for me because they felt like I was in the position I was in. And I honestly think that they were able to use it as a motivator. Is I want to show that the owner's kid isn't the best person for this job just because he's the owner's kid.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a positive. Them trying to be ahead of me. I actually, when I started working, was a night manager, and I had to report to a GM who wasn't a member of our family, and everyone thought it was weird as hell. But he had been working there for 15 years longer than me.
So
Like it just made
checks and balances.
It will just made sense, and so that's just my point. Is, but I think it motivated him to be even better at his job because
Oh yeah, having a little spy employed too.
that's how he definitely felt about it.
So we're gonna circle around to like spite fuels motivates the world, and so I don't know.
I don't think there's a single person that hasn't been motivated by spite in one way or another.
Or yes,
And I think about even
leaned into the karmic retribution hope.
what happens when you hear what one of your coworkers makes.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And take it to professional sports, like free agents
Use
get
that
signed.
as a negotiating
Exactly.
tool.
You're using the comps of, hey, that asshole over there just got 3 years, 30 million. I'm better than him. You better pay me my money.
What a good realistically based example. Like that felt so real for like us. Like we're just
Well, finding out what a coworker makes and
Yeah.
it maybe not,
Can
being a lot
incite
more than
some
you make, like
rage.
that's going to be, you're immediately going to
So
start
it's
making this
spiteful
comparison.
to start working for your lower, like, oh shit, I'm only going to give 85% then, which is still somehow 100. Or is that motivating for, I'm going to schedule a conversation to negotiate on my own behalf.
There's a choice how you use that motivation, isn't there?
Right.
And you just pointed out in a good way. One of those was positive and one of those was negative. Are you going to internalize it and make it affect your work and do less because you're not making the money that you should? Or are you going to work really hard and say, I deserve that money too? Your choice. How are you going to use this as a motivator?
Spite is fuel. Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you are in a relationship with someone who is just driven by, and I understand like you got yourself in this situation, so a little bit of make believe, but somebody who is like goals are all external, like you are, that driving force is at the pushing down.
And this is your partner in
Yeah,
a
this
romantic
is,
relationship?
I mean, even I don't know if we could extend it to like a friendship, but like, is that like, do those folks exist? I think that would be just a really big struggle of, are you able to change someone's perspective on how to use the power that you have in this inherent spite that can lead to eating crayons? It could lead to just straight up architectural crazy town.
Wow.
And
Great question. And the short answer is no. Trying to change someone's perspective is so incredibly difficult. Someone's perspective needs to change on their own. And so being connected to someone who is primarily motivated by spite, and that's someone who's close to you, I would say, man, that would make me personally feel very uncomfortable. I believe in what we talk about on this podcast, talking about the things that are really hard to discuss, the things that we often breeze by because it's easier to just not. It's all about connection. And if your motivation in life
in your face, Carl,
is to spite someone else, I don't believe you're trying to connect.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
you're gonna miss opportunities for connection and growth and healing. And so
I think the dramatic example would be like to cut off your nose to spite your face.
That is such a crazy story. It makes me sad where that comes from, that saying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, can you hit us with it a little bit?
I did deliver, I was abhorred. Is that the proper use? It feels like I'd never use that word, but like, oh my God, nauseated that in a couple separate sources have traced it back to like 12th century or Scottish nuns that would maim themselves, self-harm, mutilate their faces to quote unquote protect their virginity, aka not be a rape pursuit. Not be
So give me the saying one more time.
To cut off your nose to spite your face.
Oh,
which
my
like
gosh.
the classic, because we all are probably familiar with like that cliche in the like, oh, you know, partner's angry and so burns down the house that they also live in. You know, like I'm gonna piss
That's
off.
going to be the impulsive category.
But yeah, and
as
so
opposed
that's
to
cutting off your nose despite because you're now homeless with an angry. Yeah, so is it worth it in the long run? But I was horrified to read that. I was like, that can't be right. Then I was like, oh damn.
Wow.
But Viking raiders was the language used, and they would. Yeah, disfigure in order to live a life.
Oh my
of
gosh.
Just like, don't you think if
it's tragic, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't really categorize that as spite. That's like protection. Like, oh my gosh.
Right. Well, what about this for you? I think it would be like guilt by association.
Explain. Okay. I don't get it.
So you are, I think it's called like appeal to spite.
Okay.
Is similar in concept wise to guilt by association.
Group spite is what we're talking.
Group spite.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so you have a candidate that you're interested in, and so politically,
okay.
and so vouches for them, and so is also connected to puppy kickers.
Oh, puppy kickers.
Yeah, I went for it. I'm so sorry. This should come with a disclaimer. I don't advocate for love dogs. Animals are great. Puppy
I would
kickers.
be pretty upset about
So you
puppy
are
kicking,
digging this candidate, but now they are being supported by, associated with someone who now trickle down, guilt by association, puppy kicker.
I'm not going to vote for a puppy kicker.
Right.
And that is spiteful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I may believe in their
Danger zone.
views and all that kind of stuff, but absolutely I'm going to rely on my spite and not, vote for that person because they're a puppy kicker. That's an interesting one because I think
person, the candidate might not have done that, but it is.
But yeah, what if beliefs?
You're withholding your vote out of spite.
Yes, absolutely.
For that association.
But that's a scary thought too. Like beliefs that happen in masses when they are rooted in spite. That's a scary and powerful motivator because what we're talking about, it is a wonderful tool for motivation, but it can either be really positive or really negative, and it depends on how you frame it. It's scary that we can use this spite to motivate masses.
And empowering on the side of here I am with that perspective enhancement on the every, organized protest, every drive to improve or correct an inequality is because you're angry and spiteful about that.
Yeah. Something that's happening to you and you want to
imbalance.
You want to annoy.
Restore balance.
Yeah. Well, and again,
Shake shit up.
justify.
Yeah.
Looking for justice. That's
That's right. I loved your Baptist handwork there. Woo! I felt it. So how would you think, is it spiteful? Is it justice? So this gentleman, John Hollinsberry, we
Okay.
are in Old Town Alexandria, VA,
okay.
and this place still exists. He was a
Is this more architecture?
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Only a matter of time. There's probably going to be another one I sneak into. But this guy, I empathize. This is a very Jordan move that served on city council, has a lovely home he's proud of, and carriages are going through, horse carriages, the alleyway between the neighbor's house and scratching up the home over and over again. And so I believe being a council member probably came up and what are we going to do? And so he maybe overnight, to go back to my original, I don't know if that's true, but builds a alley filler, a home, a little building, a residence that is
Like a little
teeny
one-bedroom
tiny.
residence
It is
in the alley?
7 feet wide, 7 feet, like 3 inches, to stop carriages from scraping the exterior of his property.
I don't think that's spiteful.
Justice.
That is justice. That is a
He
problem.
didn't shoot any horses.
Exactly. And who's he really hurting? There's another street, I'm sure. Just don't use this one. I put this house to make sure no one would.
Right. Alley
Problem solved.
does feel like it's a cut through. I can only see this giant building of the church view. Oh my God. But yes, I agree that it was a solution.
Yes.
And yeah, do you have to consult your neighbor? Because that's where a lot of them come up, where the neighbor's like, that ruined my drive home. I'm the carriage that was parking there. My garage, now I have to go all the way around the block.
Yeah, and
To get in my-
I am a big believer in people
Is
and
a
being
carriage garage a thing? Or is it sorry.
carriage house.
Yeah, there we go. I was in real estate. Good God. Okay, brain broke. Sorry.
You know, this may sound really insensitive, but my response to that would be, then you shouldn't have scraped up my house over and over again. After I asked you not to, sorry about your longer commute. You know what I mean?
Maybe you should
Yeehaw,
move.
giddy up.
Maybe you should move. Maybe you should shuffle your carriage
And so
house.
the spite that comes in there is maybe it was just to piss off that one person. You know what I mean? The
I got one of those.
that keeps, and then that would be a little bit more spiteful as opposed to a problem solve. But at the same time, did you really hurt them? Or did you add 5 minutes to them getting home? Like, it's not, that is something that I see as more of, you're protecting what's yours and what's right. It's more justice than it is spite, but it could be rooted in the feeling of spite, the intentions that come with spite.
And man, committing to the architecture again, the long-term recourse of like, oh, that's heavy. So affecting one person, can I sneak in one more?
Yes, please.
I think we should visit. This still exists. The Plum Island Pink House. We're
Okay.
in
Where's Plum
Massachusetts.
Island? Oh, okay. Massachusetts.
And I will, yes, again, do my best at brevity, but oh my God, in the divorce, in the paperwork, ex-wife has, do your thing. She has decreed, seems timely, decreed that she wants an exact replica of the family home, like to the trim work, the molding, the fixtures, the plate covers, all of it.
In the
Their
divorce.
house.
That's what she feels entitled to.
In the divorce, she wants her home. And he's going, you're not staying here. And it was a, yes, heteronormative relationship we find ourselves in. And so he built this house on Plum Island, this pink house. I think the OG might have been pink as well.
To the specifications she asked for.
To spec on a freaking like marsh swampland.
Oh
It
my
is
gosh.
uninhabitable,
Oh,
never
man.
inhabitable, like salt water, corroded. It sits idle as a giant pink.
Wow. Back to my
jerky.
original question.
Oh.
Do you think he feels good about that?
He can't see it, but my environmental love is great. No kick puppies, and that's like such a what
a waste of money. What a
yeah,
but like
so it hurts my heart in that.
Yeah, like I don't see, like he probably got a chuckle as he drove away and was super angry. But give that shit a year, and I bet he feels really dumb.
Yeah.
And like, wow, I wasted $500,000 of my money to build a house in a swamp to piss off my ex-wife who I don't talk to anymore.
Bingo. And so if you have Love ninjas, if there's a moment and you can tell us how long the high lasts, like what we're looking for is when you act out of spite, to the detriment of another. If you want to toe the line of revenge, how long is that bliss? Because, like, is it worth it?
In my experience in my lifetime, it is, I want to apologize immediately. It's not worth it, is really my own personal experience. And I don't want to go further than that, because the times that I've done that in my life, like my best friend has a knee injury from me getting spiteful playing pickup football in the common area. Like we hurt each other because things got out of hand because he made a good play and then I made a good play. And like it's never been a good thing for me. If it's not well thought out, if I'm acting impulsively, it almost always results in a negative outcome, even if I get what I want.
And how's it coming with that learning curve? Are you doing good?
I think it's always a challenge.
I'm rethinking everything with the crayon eater knee kicker. Like, whoa! I'm just teasing.
Well, no, I think that you have to have an understanding in how is this actually motivating you. I think it's good when you're angry and you're motivated by something that is, falls into the injustice category. I think that is how spite can be an extremely powerful tool, but it needs to be well thought out and orchestrated and considered. If you're acting impulsively in the moment, it's going to have repercussions that you have not considered yet. If you're going to use spite as a motivator, please think about all of the possible outcomes of how you're using this to motivate yourself. Are you particularly trying to hurt this person? The revenge body is my favorite example because you're bettering yourself with the hopes of annoying that other person. But you're not flaunting it always. You're not always being like, oh, wow, I'm going to make sure to intentionally piss this person off. A lot of times you're doing it for you because it actually makes you feel better.
There is a lot of power.
But the motivation's coming from,
whatever
I want
takes
that dude to miss this.
Yeah. His loss, Pretty Woman moment. Yeah, big mistake, huge.
And now it's time for Yeditations. The thoughts in our brains keeping us from meditating.
You know what I'm realizing? You know what's actually taking me and occupying my brain without permission? The thoughts that disrupt my my process.
What's interrupting?
I don't know what motivates me.
Oh, shoot.
talking about spite. Like I know a lot of people who are motivated by money, and I have some of that. I know a lot of people who are motivated by, the things and what other people think. Oh. And I try really hard not to be that. But what does motivate me? And the only things I can really think of are like injustice. We kind of mentioned the protest movements, helping the people who really need help. Those are the kind of things that motivate me. But when I sit and I'm quiet with my thoughts, that's what motivates you. How are you going to get to where you want to go if you don't know what makes you go?
Right, those quiet moments when your brain has the voice of Liam Neeson.
Oh, God. Yes, exactly.
It's a real
I have
intensity.
A very specific skill set.
I'd argue that, is love a motivator? Like, you put a lot on the line for love in your lifetime.
My people, it's connection. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, my people motivate me.
So it seems like you kind of know the answer.
I do, but how do you monetize that?
Excellent question. I know.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Do you have that? Does that infiltrate your brain?
What motivates me?
Yeah.
Food. I thought we were all snacks. Yeah, you toss a good snack in there, like the things that I will do for a cashew.
Snoochie Bearchie.
And so I just think food, and if I'm really, finish lines. I don't know what's with my alliteration. Apparently, that's what I'm meditating on. One alphabet letter at a time. But finish lines, like a deadline, like knowing, like duh.
Done and
Nailed
done.
that, done. Even obviously travel we've discussed a lot, but snacks is the prevailing force. But what's funny is I had no idea what you're going to hit me with, and I like that you stayed close to motivation. I heard about Morita therapy recently.
Okay, yeah.
Are you familiar?
Barely.
Okay, me too. Just enough to be dangerous, right where we like it. So Japanese Morita therapy, I'm going to butcher this as always, but I believe is kind of getting away from the idea of motivation, saying actions we can control. We're that internal Liam Neeson we have, so perhaps You don't need the feeling of I'm about to get after this. That doesn't necessarily need to come, is not a requirement for like
to go do.
Ooh, maybe like Mel Robbins, doesn't she have like that 5-4 countdown?
Yeah.
And so it's like, and get out of bed. And so I think that that's what Marita therapy is trying to promote is like, just
Love
get
it.
your ass moving.
Yeah.
Who cares if you feel like it?
Well, I've got some reading to do.
Sounds like a plan.
This has been Yeditations.
I feel that I can just sum it all up. I feel healthier than expected at
Okay.
the beginning.
I like that.
In small doses, I think spite. I can feel calluses on my hand from sports I have not endured in eons, and I know that I kept that. Like I think if I keep that focus on, what am I gonna get at the end? What is?
Yeah, kind of to prove someone wrong is
Yeah.
another sort of very positive spite motivator, in my opinion.
If someone does write us and say, 6 months I've floated on air, I might still consider a little bit of that. Yeah.
And I'm sure they're out there.
I'm
like,
sure they're out there.
100%.
But I think staying true, like if you have your goals, your values, like can spite work into my repertoire with staying true to that part of myself? I think yes.
Framed in the right way, I agree with you.
Okay.
It's again, when you are acting impulsively, it can be extremely dangerous. And then you brought up a good point about how it can be dangerous in groups. If you get people to feel spiteful about the same thing, it's not even their own feeling. They're, I think that can be,
Bandwagon.
those are where I think spite can be really dangerous as a motivator.
Right. Know the origin of your spiteful intent.
Exactly.
I love impulsivity. You are, donkey on the edge over here. I'm loving it. Well, this has been, I fared better than I expected.
Loved it.
Thank you
It's
for indulging my architecture.
So wonderful to be back for our third season.
Woo!
Really
It feels
have
so
to throw it
good.
out to our listeners as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We do this because of you. Please come back and keep listening to us. I am JT.
I am Jordan. Thank you so much for keeping us curious.
Absolutely. And be brave, beautiful friends.
We'll see you next time.